Hey YouTube, this is MindTech. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be retro-brighting and restoring this Microsoft mouse version 2.0a from around the early to mid 1990s. As you would expect, it does have a PS2 port on it, and not only that, it also has a ball. Heck, this thing doesn't even have a scroll wheel. All it has is this line just to kind of show the delineation between the left and the right click. So this is a really cool mouse that I found in a box full of old stuff, and it is significantly yellowed, as you can see. So I'm really hoping that with some hydrogen peroxide I will be able to restore it to its old greatness. So without any further ado, let's get this thing open and let's get it cleaned up. So I'm assuming all we have to do to get this open would be to probably first remove the ball. I think the last time I put this on I might have went a bit too hard. Okay, it should not be that difficult. Oh, there. It is relatively clean inside. Actually, it's pretty darned clean. Now let's go and remove these two screws. And this way we can not only protect the circuit board, but we can also do some cleaning if it is necessary. Come on, it has to be out. I believe in you. There we go. There we go. Just a really basic assembly right here. This is how the mouse actually clicks, and the rest of this mechanism is how the mouse perceives input. When you move this ball, it's basically moving these two rollers. This perceives X input and this perceives Y input. If you connected this up to a computer and you just move this roller bar, the mouse would literally have a completely linear input on whatever scale. So it is some really interesting technology, and I'm not completely sure what this is for, but it does have a spring. Here are the two actual button inputs. That's nice and clicky. What I want to do is try and get this out. It is really dusty inside. It even has like hair. Okay, how does this board come out? I don't want to break it, that's why. See, it looks like there are two clips. So maybe if we try and move the entire board. Let me get like a spudger or something. Okay, this is a PCI bracket, but you know, it's a spudger enough. If we move the board and try and get this unclipped, it is in there very well though. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this aside for now because I don't want to break anything, and I'm gonna shift my attention over to this top piece, which is yellowed the worst. And I have some alcohol, and I also have some Windex glass cleaner, plus I have a whole bunch of paper towels. So I'm just gonna get some of these out right now and spray some Windex on here, and I'm just gonna see if I can't get some of this grime off of it. It seems like it's yellow just because of the plastic, but I'm not sure if it is 100% because of that. Something is coming up. I'm gonna get my Q-tip here and try and get this a bit cleaner. There we go, that's already looking a lot better. And if I try and remove this yellow here, that is a part of the plastic. And if I'd really go at it, I might damage the mouse itself. This is the white that it's supposed to be, whereas this is that really yellowed beige. Let's also get in between where the mouse connects. As you can see, that does pick up a lot of grime from your hand. And other than that, this mouse is in pretty darn good shape. So I'm gonna set this top piece aside and now direct my attention inside and see if I can't get some of this grime cleaned up. You wouldn't think the grime would really get inside of a mouse. I guess that it manages. Oh geez, that was kind of stupid. I don't want to damage my new table too much. Alcohol on circuit boards is completely fine. Because it dries so quickly, that isn't going to corrode anything. The reason why electronics and water don't mix is because of how corrosive water can be and how long it takes to dry. Yeah, I really wish that I could get this board off of here. It's a weird design. And one thing that you would want to divert your attention to are these roller bars that I was talking about. Again, if they get all messed up, that's going to really cause a lack of reception for the mouse and make it seem like it's sticky. So I'm going to make sure that this gear mechanism is clean. I'm going to make sure that these roller bars get a nice amount of alcohol. Even though when I tested out this mouse, it did seem to be pretty reliable. And I'll also clean this metal mechanism here. And other than that, it looks like the actual inside where the two pieces connected seems pretty clean. And the bottom of it, I'll just give a quick wipe down here. It looks like it did sustain a bit of damage here, and it also has some damage down here, really where it's going to fall and where it's going to be on the desk. And here also it seems like it always gets grind from the desk if you don't use a mouse pad. Even for more modern ones, like at school, these bars right here are always just disgusting. But I think that this is almost ready for the Retr0Bright. But one of the mistakes that I've made in the past is not causing damage to anything that might be able to be damaged. Although this mouse body itself is basically just a piece of plastic, I am concerned about that Microsoft logo. So what I'm going to do is get some masking tape and just mask over that. I don't want to cover too much because this will change the way that the Retr0Brighting occurs, but if it's just in between the letters, I don't think that will make too big a difference. I'd prefer that over completely losing the logo. So we'll just have that covered right there. I'm concerned that the hydrogen peroxide could also damage like these stickers, so I'm going to get those covered here also. It's like I'm trying to sell insurance to someone. You're covered! So I'm just going to try and get right where the logo is and outline it with my thumb so I can go and cut that off with a pair of scissors. Looks like we went overboard a bit on the bottom. Now I'm going to cut this. Make sure to not cause any damage to your plastic also, that'd be terrible. Let's go and do the same thing for this smaller logo. I should have some extra tape here that I can use. And I cut just a little bit too much, so I'm just going to slightly move this. And there we go. Now this mouse should be protected from the harsh elements of these chemicals. I would like to remove this circuit board, but I'm just going to remove the cable for now. It's one of those tricky ones. I need a pair of pliers to do this. There we go. And I'm thinking I'll just try and do a piece of tape to cover this entire board. And obviously I'm not going to put any peroxide actually inside here, but this is just to try and cover it up from some of the potential water that might get in there. First thing tomorrow morning, I'm going to get the peroxide added on, put it all inside of this plastic bag, and set it in the sun for it to do its wonder. Alright, so now I'm ready to get this hydrogen peroxide put onto the mouse. First of all, if you're following along at home, make sure to put on a plastic glove. This is incredibly important because we are dealing with chemicals that can be very corrosive and would be very detrimental if they got on your bare hands. Now I'm going to get out some of my 40 volume cream developer. This is actually for bleaching hair. We're basically going to be making this mouse blonde if you think about it. So now I'm going to get a little bit on my glove. Just going to start spreading it on and try and get it about as even as possible. Okay, since I didn't get a second glove for some reason, I'm just going to use a paper towel to hold the mouse part down. And you just want to get a nice and even coat. So like right here where it's all splotchy, that's not what we want. You could use like a brush to do this. You could even submerge it in hydrogen peroxide, which would be a bit less messy, but then that would require you to get a bunch of peroxide and put it in a tank. That would be incredibly difficult to do. We don't really need to do the inside because first of all, people aren't going to see that, and second of all, it wasn't exposed to the UV light. Although there are some splotchy areas, this mouse part is looking pretty good. You can see it's all covered with that solution. Now I'm thinking about maybe using the saran wrap, but I'm worried that that would just get really messy. So I think what would work just as well is just put it in this plastic bag that's still going to protect it from the elements and make sure that all of this hydrogen peroxide isn't going to be evaporated. But also with the saran wrap, the problem that you run into is it can blow off easily. So I'll just set it in there and then we'll move on to getting this second part submerged in solution. And you really want to focus on the areas like right here. This is a lot more yellowed than something like the rest of the mouse bottom. I think I'm just going to get a bit more, even though this is looking pretty good. And there we go. I'm also going to put it inside the bag, and I think I'm gonna apply just a bit more material. I don't feel like I got enough on there. And I'm assuming that the bottom part will probably be what we should take out of the sun first, just because this was majorly affected. I don't know how it had such an uneven exposure to UV light. Alrighty, I think that that is pretty darn good. So let's put it back inside the bag and seal up the bag. Now that we're done with that, next thing to do is put it out in the sun. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning, so I should be able to leave this out until noon, 1 or 2, and then we'll check up on that, wash off the peroxide, and see if there's any difference. I'll see you once I get it outside. Alright, so I have the mouse out now. It is a bit overcast in the morning right now, so I'm hoping that it will get a bit better, but if not, it is still in fact exposed to UV light. It is noon, and it is looking surprisingly good. Those marks that were very distinct are hardly visible at all. It doesn't look like I'm doing any damage to anything right now, so I'm just going to leave it set out for a few more hours. You can see how some of it is condensing up here, but it is not evaporating because it is in a sealed container. So I highly recommend, if you're doing a small Retr0Bright, to do it in like a bag. It is still overcast though, but like I said, UV light is still being emitted from the sun. So I've had this mouse sitting in the hydrogen peroxide all day long, and I'm hoping that it is going to be fully restored. Just looking at it right now, you can really tell how white it actually got. Let's just take it out of the bag right here. Now the solution should still be wet, assuming everything was done correctly. So I am going to put my glove back on. And now let's just take these parts out. And holy crap. Yeah, that's great. If you look at this bit right here, this was the original plastic color. And if you look here, this is the new plastic color. I'm just going to go and wash this off. And same thing with the bottom, honestly. That is a huge difference. Even on this little bit, which I didn't really expect would change that much. And of course, I don't want to get the circuit board too wet. So now I'm going to go and take this tape off, and I'm hoping that the color isn't too different. Okay, there is a bit of a difference if you look really closely. But honestly, I think that I was able to preserve that logo pretty well. Now I'm just going to put some soap on here. All of that yellowing is gone in those major spots. So this is basically looking brand new right now. And I am going to go and wash this down a bit also. That turned out really nicely. I'm just going to try and dry these off a bit. It looks like the texture is still exactly the same. There is hardly a difference with that Microsoft logo. Let me also take this tape off, and I think I'm going to go and try and blow off the circuit board a bit. Gonna set my hair dryer to cool and put it on low, and also hold down this cold button. Alright, let's also remove this tape. Looks like the logo did get a bit wet, but the text is completely preserved. This turned out really well, guys. And the reason why you really want to be thorough with this drying job is because there might be some water lodged underneath the circuit board that could really do damage to the components. And I'll probably also wait until tomorrow morning to actually get this powered up. That's what it looks like right now. I'm gonna go and get this put back together now. Alright, so I just got done washing this off, and I have to say it does look pretty good. There are some inconsistencies that I have found, you know, just some common problems that you do encounter. It's really hard actually for you to see it on the camera, because right now it just looks like this is one shade of white. You can kind of see a marble pattern, which is kind of a shame. It would be nice if it was 100% original, but there are some things with chemicals that you can't can't even repair. And also, although this Microsoft logo blends in very, very well and really says that the plastic up here was not as bad as the plastic down here, there is just a bit of a shade difference. But other than that, like, this Retro0Brighting, I'd say, was successful overall. So now all we have left to do is put this mouse back together. Just got to get the USB cable and just tuck this away. Uh-oh. I don't think that that's correct, honestly. It's probably gonna have to go this way. Yeah, there we go. That looks a lot better. Now that we have that on, we can just add this top piece back on and make sure it clips in, I believe, right here. Kind of going from the underneath. This does feel like it is clicking correctly, and I cannot confirm whether or not it is in, but it looks like it's ready to screw in, so I'm just gonna go with it anyways. If this would ever stop screwing. There we go. This doesn't seem like that long a screw. Last thing for us to do is pop that ball back in. Now it almost looks out of place because of how beige it is. And finally, and that's a wrap, guys. One restored Microsoft mouse. Yep, it's working just the way that it normally did. You can see how much of a difference it made because obviously I'm not going to Retro0Bright the cable. If you look at it from the side, again, you can see that marbling. That's just something that we're going to have to live with. Other than that, guys, thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this Retro0Brighting job. If you want to see some more pictures of this, both before and after, make sure to check out my community tab on YouTube. I hope that you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye.